Welcome, everyone. Take a seat, settle in, and turn off your thoughts for a second. I want to talk to you today about a single phrase that sounds like a contradiction on its surface: the art of mindlessness. Now, if you turn on any podcast, pick up a self help book, or scroll through social media, you are constantly told to practice mindfulness. Be present, notice every breath, be intensely conscious of every single sensation of your day. And look, being present is a wonderful thing. At the start of this text, we have taken that idea and twisted it into something exhausting. When we talk about mindlessness here, we are not talking about walking through life like a zombie. It is a play on words. What we are talking about is learning to step out of the trap of over-intellectualizing every single aspect of human existence. Look at the world we've built. We live in an era of unprecedented technological advancement. We can send a message across the globe in a fraction of a second. Yet our ability to connect on a raw, human level is completely fragmented. Why? Because we value what man can make or do, but we place almost no value on what man is. We worship reason and logic. But when reason becomes the only lens through which you view your life, it turns into a cage. It denies your natural instincts. It smothers your raw desires and genuine pleasures because they don't fit into neat societal expectations or what we deem normal. Think about a child playing in the dirt. They aren't analyzing the dirt. They aren't rationalizing why they feel happy, they are just living it. But as adults, we try to put a fluid, wild, untamable human soul into a strict mental box. And then we wonder why we end up suffering. Here is the dark side of living entirely in your head when you process everything psychologically. Your mind becomes a labeling machine. You label this person as good, that person as bad, this sentiment as unjust, and that lifestyle as wrong. And why do we do it? Because it gives our ego a cheap, comfortable high. We tell ourselves, well, at least I'm not like them. At least my thinking is superior. The text puts it plainly: our modern culture literally profits off us tearing each other apart. We buy into it because seeing someone else fail makes us feel safe in our own skin for a second. But here is the trap. The moment you judge and label someone else, you build the very cage that will eventually trap you. When you decide that a certain flaw or emotion is wrong in others, you make it illegal for yourself to ever show vulnerability or fail. So how do we fix this? How do we practice this art of mindlessness? First, we have to get comfortable with the unknown. We hate things we can't define. We reject spiritual intelligence and the deeper, unexplainable realities of life simply because we can't prove them in a lab or agree on them in an argument. But the best things in life, love, awe, artistic inspiration, true peace, exist beyond the limits of your logical comprehension. Second, we need to change how we handle raw emotion. When a child throws a tantrum in public, our immediate instinct as parents is often shame or anger. Why? Because we are worried about looking bad as caretakers. We want to suppress the child's outburst to maintain control. But a child needs to learn how to process negative emotions without being scolded, shamed, or made to feel broken. We have to extend that same grace to ourselves and others. Stop trying to control or sanitize every uncomfortable feeling. Finally, we have to move from our minds to our hearts. Major change in the world doesn't happen through grand, intellectual debates. It happens on a minor scale, one individual at a time. When we stop defining people and start accepting them. Think of ancient wisdom like Socrates, who famously realized that true wisdom begins when you admit that you actually know nothing. Or think of the philosopher Alan Watts, who wrote extensively in The Wisdom of Insecurity about how our anxiety comes from trying to force certainty onto an inherently uncertain world. Stop trying to mentally dominate your life. Stop trying to understand every single thing and define every single person you meet. Settle firmly into the uncertainty. Let go of the urge to control the narrative in your head. Drop down into your heart and just allow yourself to be human. At its core, this whole journey away from overanalyzing and into what the author calls mindlessness is about returning to your raw, unfiltered humanity. We spend so much of our lives believing that if we can just analyze a problem long enough, label a person accurately enough, or plan for every scenario tightly enough, we will finally be safe. But the intellect was meant to be a tool you pick up to solve a problem, not a prison you lock yourself inside. When you let your rational mind control every instinct, emotion, and relationship, you trade genuine living for the illusion of control. You don't need to have an answer for every unknown, a label for every person, or a defense mechanism for every uncomfortable emotion. Real freedom begins when you drop the mental tug of war and realize that life is meant to be felt and lived, not endlessly solved. Stop carrying the weight of having to figure everything out today. You are allowed to feel something without instantly needing to rationalize why you feel it. You are allowed to meet someone new without putting them in a mental box. You are allowed to take a step into the unknown without a step-by-step roadmap. The moments in your life that will mean the most to you on your last day, the sound of pure laughter, the quiet comfort of a loved one's presence, the awe of a sunset, the courage of taking a leap of faith do not happen in your head. They happen in your heart. Forgive yourself for the times you let fear or judgment build walls around you. Step out of the courtroom in your mind where you are constantly playing both judge and jury. Take a deep breath, trust your instincts, and allow yourself the grace to simply exist in the richness of the present moment. Ask a question to yourself today. What would I do today if I didn't need a guaranteed outcome?